All right, great. So it being after 6 p.m., I will call the meeting of the Newbury Conservation Commission of uh, August 4th to order. Mason, would you start us off?
hmm
Roll
As
call?
a preliminary matter, this is Mason Ferret, Conservation Agent of the Newbury Conservation Commission. Please permit me to confirm that all members are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mary Rimmer,
Yes.
Mick Brown,
Yes.
Bob Connors,
Yes.
Harry Trout.
Yes.
And that's it for now. Good evening. This open meeting of the Newbury Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020. For this meeting, ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Newbury Conservation Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom as posted on the agenda of the Conservation Commission section of the town's website identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that attendees are participating by video conference. Applicants or their representatives may be called upon to speak and/or share information to the screen if able on the fly. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda, but before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct. The agent will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the agent will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comments, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your microphone, please use earbuds, and please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any responses, please wait until the agent yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Board and committee members should be called upon in a first name alphabetical order to ease the process. After board and committee members have spoken, public comment will be afforded as follows. The agent will first seek questions through the chat function. When participants are using this function, please list your name, address, and then your question. Then the agent will seek questions from the public who wish to speak. They'll be asked to identify their names, addresses, and questions. Finally, when the agent has a list of all public commentators, they'll call on each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Alrighty.
Great.
Upcoming meeting dates. As of now, the board has been meeting once a month in the summer, but I'm recommending that the next meeting we have is going to be August 18th, and then following that will be September 1st, pending the board's availability.
Okay.
Meeting minutes review tonight will be held until the August 18th meeting, where we will go over meeting minutes for 6-2 and 7-7. So starting off, we have a request for certificates of compliance, DEP file number 050-1390, 26 Northern Boulevard. The applicant is submitting a request for a certificate of compliance for the in-kind replacement and small expansion of a deck and walkway systems on the primary dune.
Mason. So I've asked Mason to put together an agent's report so we have a quick summary of each of the projects, which is extensive this meeting. So appreciate that, Mason. So you have some idea of where things are. We have, just for anyone on in the public listening tonight, we have 5 requests for certificates of compliance. We'll go through those quickly and will not be requesting public input on those since it's not part of a public hearing process. So we have the certificate of compliance for 26 Northern Boulevard. It looks like this was an order of conditions that was issued in 2022 for repair and placement of a wooden deck. What do you mean by not expired within PEA, Mason?
The Permit Extension Act, so the
Okay.
3-year period would bring them to 11/16/25, and then Permit Extension Act would bring them beyond November of this
Got
year.
it. Oh, the permit. Okay, gotcha. So it's still a valid permit.
Yep.
This was a slight expansion. The deck width was approved, 1,509, 519 square feet of coastal dune impact. Mitigation plantings were not identified on the approved plan, but the homeowner pointed out the spots where the dune had revegetated. Agent visited the site on July 7th and photos were taken to document vegetation on the primary dune. Deck replacement seemed to be according to the approved plan, and the coastal dune was heavily vegetated. And the agent's recommendation is to issue a full certificate of compliance. So if you have those photos and you can show us those,
Yep.
Mason, would be great.
I'll just start with the order of conditions here. So this was the existing boardwalk. Not sure if you can see it's kind of faded, but this dashed line is the proposed expansion on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
So just slight expansion on each side, a little bit more as you get towards the front of the house here. But previously that was all existing. So that was the approved plan where I didn't see any mitigation planting called out on here. But you can see some of these before photos as well. So it's going to be the same layout, new boards, and then again with just that slight expansion. So that was the approved plan, and now I can pull up the photos. And just let me know if you want me to stop at any point or slow down.
Yeah, I had actually stopped by this site last Friday, Mary, and you're hard pressed. We would be hard pressed to find a spot to plant any additional vegetation.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like it was just mostly replacement of existing.
Yeah,
Typically, we would not have the structure at grade, they would have some separation, but it looks like that was replacement in kind of existing. Okay, I'm gonna go around and see if the members have any comments, starting with Mick.
No comments or questions. Thank you, Mary.
Okay, Bob
no questions, Mary. Thank you.
and Harry.
No questions. Thank you, Mary.
And I do not have any questions, so I would entertain a motion for issuance of a certificate of compliance for 26 Northern Boulevard.
I'll move
So
the
moved.
motion. Second?
I heard a motion in a second. All in favor? Mick,
Hi.
Bob,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Okay, thank you.
Alrighty. Next matter is the EP file number 050-1337-84 Boston Road. The applicant is submitting a request for a certificate of compliance for the building of a construction yard and workshop. I don't see the applicant on here tonight. I had tried reaching out in the past couple hours to see if they're going to be joining the meeting and I wasn't able to connect with them. All of the information is in the folder for the board's review, but I would recommend that we just continue this until the next meeting when the applicant can answer questions.
Okay, was there anything, I mean, technically we don't have to have the applicant present, but is there anything? I think we were keeping it open for stormwater review by the planning board. Also, has that been resolved?
Yeah, so they've completely closed out with the planning board. And then I have let me open this. So they have a certificate of completion for the site plan review of the project that's in the folder. And I have an older email from Joe Sarwaka that I can pull up to see the specific comments on the stormwater, but I believe everything was addressed. The other discrepancies in the as-built letter that was submitted to us last summer when they originally filed for the COC were smaller things like dumpster location. There was some site plan review things about a one-way road, but the wetland, the created wetland area in the back, there was no discrepancies. The only thing that I had wanted the board to ask or look into was the increase in pavement on the site. This was all within the 50 to 100-foot buffer or outside of the 100-foot buffer. And it seems like everything matched up and complied with their updated stormwater calcs from planning board's review.
So are you saying that the additional pavement was not added, or it was?
It was added, but it wasn't noted by the planning board's peer reviewer as untreated or detrimental or anything like that.
I know there was a lot of discussion during the hearing process on this about the amount of pavement that would be allowed. So I think it would be worthwhile to hear from the applicant and get the final what the difference is and how close it is to the resource for that
Yep.
additional pavement.
Yeah, I can plan on reaching out, and then if we want to continue until our 8/18 meeting, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation.
I agree.
Terry agrees. Mick?
Yeah. Mick is saying yes.
Muted. Looks like you're
Give us a
nodding.
thumbs up. Give you a thumbs up.
Sorry, sorry.
Yep.
We'll
Takes
be
a
doing,
while.
we'll be doing
Uh,
smoke signals before the
I'll
night's
try not to
over.
call on you until you finish your dinner.
I've
And
been
Bob,
on the road, been
Yes.
on the road since 6 a.m. It's been a long day.
yeah,
Um,
okay. So
is
we'll,
the amount of pavement delineated or stated within the
I believe
order
the
of conditions?
area was, but I don't know if the square footage was. So I can review the order of conditions to see what the approved amount was, and then I can ask the
Okay.
engineer for an update on what the additional amount was as well for the
That would be good.
meeting.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
okay, so we'll continue that 84 Boston Road until the meeting of August 18th. Next item on the agenda.
Yep. DEP file number 0501398, 136 Main Street, Borrego Solar. Again, I don't see the applicant on here tonight. They were notified that they'd be on this meeting. But this is a request for a certificate of compliance for the solar project, the access road, and the installed clear span bridge with the mitigation planting. So where this left off with us last was we voted to issue the bond reduction and wanted to wait to see the survival of the approved planting area come springtime or come past the growing season. So I was able to go out with Rob Rosine, the project engineer, on July 1st to review. He was able to get a head count of the plants that had survived that we both went over. He calculated what I believe was either a 75% or 80% survival rating, which was conditioned in the order of conditions. So we went through the math on that, and they met the minimum threshold on that. Outside of that, I don't think there's any other remaining items. One of the big things to note was that a lot of the soil conditions were the reasoning for why some plants did better than others. Some were closer to the wetlands. Some were kind of up on a graded bank that was exposed to direct sunlight all day. So a lot of those struggled a bit more. Rob had also offered that as they finish things up with the planning board, with the planting screen that they have to do as part of their project that's separate outside of the jurisdiction of this order of conditions, he'd be willing to try and plant some additional trees in this area just to give it a second chance to see if it worked.
Okay, so it sounds like it may be worthwhile to continue this one as well.
Yeah, most likely. I think it would be good to have the engineer on.
I think we did a fairly extensive review of the original bridge and everything, and there were only a handful of items that were outstanding. So I think when they do get that information, we should be able to close it out pretty quickly.
Yep. Yep.
All right. I don't know if with certificates of compliance, if we need to get a vote on it. We didn't.
Yeah, no, maybe because it's not a public hearing.
Right.
Yeah.
We just can do consensus. Okay.
Yeah, just kick it forward to the next
Right.
meeting.
Sounds good. All right, next item on the agenda is
DEP file number 0501424, 18 Temple Boulevard West. The applicant is submitting a request for a certificate of compliance for work that was never started. There's a new homeowner for this project. In the spring, or maybe it was last fall, they had reached out to me to do a site walk with them, talking about plan amendments or some amendments to the approved order of conditions for some changes in the project that they wanted to do. And then after the winter, they had reached out and said that they were no longer interested in doing any of the work on site. So they're requesting a certificate of compliance for, I believe it's an invalid order of conditions on the checkbox.
or no work was conducted.
Right. So yeah, my recommendation would be to close out as no work was done.
Yep.
The only other thing that I noted is just in a conversation I had with them to make it known that if they do decide to go forward with this work or any other work in the future, it would require a new notice of intent.
Right. Thank you. Okay. I would entertain a motion for issuing a certificate of compliance for 18 Temple Boulevard West,
So
stating
moved.
no work was completed.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor, Mick? Sorry.
Aye.
Bob,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Woody,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Thank you.
All right, next matter is DEP file number 050160, 50 Hanover Street. The applicant is submitting a request for a certificate of compliance for a commercial building under an order conditions that was issued 40 years ago. Yeah, this is a really old order. There was a couple special conditions that mentioned or prohibited certain uses of the commercial building. But there's going to be new owners of this. They're working on a sale right now. So they're actually requesting a continuance until our next meeting so that they can show up to see if the board has any comments before closing out this hold order.
That's fine. All right, we'll just move on to the next item.
Ready? Second. Our next item is under request for determinations of applicability, 1 O'Connor's Court. The applicant is submitting an RDA for the installation of a hot tub and alterations of the existing landscape features on Plum Island. So we had reviewed this project at our last meeting, talking about a slight deck extension, hot tub installation, and the conversion of existing lawn and garden areas into rock garden areas, with the addition of paver patios and things like that. Where it left off is we had advised the applicant that we wanted some more information regarding the square footage of the impact areas, the length of the deck extension, the size of the hot tub, how it would be elevated. We kind of gave them a list of things. The homeowner has decided to work with a new contractor who had reached out since our last meeting. He's gotten some direction from me on what the board is looking for, and as of right now, they don't have any updated plans, but I will keep the board posted and update the folder as we get new information for this project.
Okay, so have they requested a continuance?
Yep, they have until our next meeting.
All right, so I'd entertain a motion for a continuance of 1 O'Connor's Court to the meeting of August 18th.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor? Mick, I
I,
just got to get you.
oh, man, I was like, I think I have a delay or something.
Who's next? Bob,
Yes,
Harry,
Yes.
Woody,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Okay,
Next
item.
matter is an RDA for 4 Bryn Mawr Way. The applicant is submitting an RDA for the creation and expansion of a parking area and rehabilitation of unvegetated portions of a coastal dune. So we brought this up at our last meeting and had requested more information regarding the work area and the mitigation planting area. I just received supplemental information today, if the board would like to look at it, but since it is past the due date for supplemental information, I'm also fine if we'd like to continue to review and give some additional comments before our 8/18 meeting.
Mason, is the applicant here?
The applicant is here. Yep.
Okay. Since the applicant is here, I'd like to give them a chance to just present the updated plans, or if you could provide the updated plan.
Yep.
And then
Yeah, I'll share the updated plans, and Jay Martello is here, who's the owner of the property and the project applicant.
Jay, are you there?
I am, yeah.
Yep. Feel free to go ahead and describe what the work is that you're proposing. here.
So what Mason has up the bottom left-hand corner of the proposed work area, that 36 by 35 by 22, it's about 250 square feet approximate. We're just looking to extend the existing landscaping that's in the front of the house with some 3/4 crushed stone, just to match the front landscaping and to clean up that area. That area is not proposed to use for any new additional parking or anything like that. And I know a previous question was about the tree. That tree is not being disturbed. No other areas being disturbed in that area. What we're proposing for the revegetation is the small areas in yellow, just to the south of that, in that 62, 63 number, is a small area. We're proposing some bayberry trees that would fit within there, along a fence line, and then out back, there's an existing bare spot of the dune, 50 by 2 feet, that we're proposing some beach grass to implement there, just at the base of a dune.
Okay, and do we have a planting plan showing these areas? Like what's proposed to be planted or anything like that?
No, I was never advised anybody needed anything more than what we submitted.
Yeah, I think that's what we were waiting for is, what is going to be the treatment of these areas? Are you going to put dune grass or are you going to put shrubs? Oh, what is going to go in there? So we have some idea of, um, how to treat this request.
Mary, could we just add a notation to the 50 by 2 feet, he said is beach grass? Could we just have them right on the plan with an arrow of beach grass, 50 by, what's it, 100 square feet?
Yeah, we submitted a supplemental narrative that explains everything.
Okay, there is a supplemental narrative. I did not see that. So
Sorry about that. I can share that.
yeah, the plan doesn't indicate, it just says work area, but it doesn't show what the
Right.
surface is or anything like that. So there's a couple of just minor omissions, but if anybody picked up this plan, the idea would be that they would know what it is you're proposing to do, and it's a little hard to tell from the sketch you provided. So if we could just indicate that the triangle area is proposed to be shells, is that what you said? Crushed shells?
3/4 stone to match what's there now.
3/4 stones. Okay, and then there are 2 planting areas as mitigation for that. One of them will be planted in dune grass and one of them is.
Yeah, so it's right here. This is my fault. I had missed this in the email.
Okay. Southern boundary. Vegetated with bare root American beach grass and mitigation area 2. Native northern bayberry installed shrubs according to recommended coastal zone management spacing standards. Okay. So I would be comfortable if the applicant worked with Mason to just update this plan to specify this is where mitigation area 1 and mitigation area 2 are on the plan. Just label it and
Yep.
label the surface.
Just put this information on
3/4
the
washed
original
ground
plan.
stone. Right. Yep. And then that we attach this planting description to any determination of applicability.
Yep.
So my thoughts on that. I'm gonna circulate around and give Mick a break this time and go right to Bob first.
I think that's a wise course of action there. No, you're 100% right. Trying to remember what was discussed a year later, if there's a question, having it all just labeled on the plan, even if it's handwritten, is, I think, very informative down the road.
Any other comments, Bob?
Nope, that's it, Mary. Thank you.
Okay. Harry?
I have no comments, just to add, I agree with you guys, just a little bit more clarity on the layout.
Okay.
Thanks.
And Woody?
No, just what you guys have already added is great.
Okay.
Gives us some clarity, and I have no other comments. Looks good otherwise.
Thanks, Woody. And Mick?
Yeah, just, I guess, concurrence with the rest of the committee to have a detailed plan as opposed to a sketch, delineating the areas and the plants that are going to be put in. So,
Okay. Is everyone comfortable closing the public discussion on this in allowing Mason to get that details on the plan before issuance of the final determination?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
yes,
All right. So I would entertain a motion to issue, unless there are any special conditions that anyone would like to add in addition. I would entertain a motion to close the public discussion on this and issue a negative determination of applicability with the conditions of attaching this email to it and making the adjustments to the plan as we discussed.
So moved?
Second?
Okay. All in favor? Mick,
I,
Bob,
Aye.
Harry,
Yes.
Woody,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. All right, thank you.
Alrighty. Next matter is going to be our new notice of intent in public hearings. The first one is going to be DEP file number 050-1466 37 Old Pine Island Road. The applicant is submitting a notice of intent in Ecological Restoration Limited project for the treatment, removal, and management of invasive Phragmites on multiple parcels off Seaview Lane and Old Pine Island Road. So just a little bit of clarification for some of the board members. This was originally submitted and put on the agenda under just one file number. Since then, the applicant has reached out to the state to get two file numbers, as we have two different property owners. So the first one that we're going over now, 050-1466, is just going to be for 37 Old Pine Island Road. This is Essex County Greenbelt, and it proposes 7,535 square feet of salt marsh and land subject to coastal storm flowage impacts. Um, I'll hold some of my comments and questions until after, if it's not covered by the applicant. But for now, I will pass it off to Jordan and she can give a presentation.
And just for the record, I'll be abstaining from discussion by conflict with Greenbelt. And so I will turn it over to Mick as vice chair to run the public hearing on this. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi, my name is Jordan Fold with DeRosa Environmental. And Mason, are you able to also open the next one as well so I can present them together?
Yep. Yeah, so the next one is DEP file number 050-1467, 16-18-20 Seaview Lane and 38 Old Pine Island Road. The applicant is submitting a notice of intent, Ecological Restoration Limited Project for the treatment, removal, and management of invasive Phragmites on multiple parcels off Seaview Lane and Old Pine Island Road.
Great, thank you. I've also prepared a short PowerPoint if I can just share my screen.
Yep, let me... Should be all set now.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Great.
I can.
So I'm presenting the notice of intent for the invasive species management on the properties on Seaview Lane and Old Pine Island Road. And the existing resource areas for this project are salt marsh and land subject to coastal storm flowage. And the properties involved in this project are 37 Old Pine Island Road, owned by Essex County Greenbelt. And then there's also the Seaview Coalition of the Willing, LLC, which includes 20 Seaview Lane, 18 Seaview Lane, 16 Seaview Lane, and 38 Old Pine Island Road. And they're highlighted in red on this map. The proposed project is an ecological restoration plan for the invasive species common reed, otherwise known as Phragmites australis, and there is proposed cutting and treating of approximately 0.8 acres of the invasive species. There is a proposed treatment of the herbicide glyphosate, which will be Aqua Master EPA number 524343, and a Marsh Master is proposed to be utilized to cut the large areas of Phragmites, and a handheld weed whacker is proposed for the smaller areas. It is
Excuse me, Jordan,
yeah.
can you flip through the pages? I just see the cover page.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're still
sorry,
seeing the
sorry.
cover page.
Oh, sorry about that.
Thanks. Thanks, Harry. Yeah, we're still seeing your cover page.
Yeah, I'm just working to change it. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Can you see it now?
Still the cover page.
Sorry.
There you go.
There we go. And now we're seeing proposed project.
Okay, great. So let me just go back then. Technical issues.
Pretty
Sorry.
interesting rig, the Marsh Master.
Sorry, I don't know why. Let me just stop sharing for a second.
Mason, do you have that file?
I do not have the slideshow, no.
Okay.
think now would be a good time to petition for a conservation department marsh master, though. That'd pretty sweet. That
Mason,
could be
you
used for
want
some
one of,
site visits.
you want one of those, don't you?
Yes, I would love one.
Hey, don't you want a drone too? One of those big drones?
I don't know. I'd go in on it with you, Mason. I would.
Can you see my slides changing?
We're not seeing your slides right now, unfortunately, Jordan.
Sorry.
I think you stopped sharing, so maybe start sharing again.
Yeah, reload it.
If you want to try and send it to me too, I can also try and share.
There we go.
Yep. I think we're seeing slide number 5 now.
Great.
Okay, can you see it now?
We
The
can see
slide with the
slide
map.
number 5, yes.
Okay, so the Phragmites locations are highlighted in red. And only the areas within the project property boundaries are proposed to be cut and treated. So that does not include area C because that homeowner did not want to be part of this project because they were selling their property. There was many concerns from abutters on the drinking water and the private wells and drinking water. And so the proposed project, just to clarify, is not going to be above any private or public wells. And glyphosate has a high affinity to bind to soil with a half-life in the environment of about 47 to 60 days. And due to the short half-life, it does not accumulate in the soil. And this is especially true or applicable because we're only proposing to treat 1 day a year. And there is no root activity on other plants when in the soil. There's going to be approximately 30 gallons at 1.5% of glyphosate, which is approximately 54 ounces of the concentrate glyphosate proposed to be used. And this is well below the EPA drinking water standard concentration of 0.7 ppm. And then we've also included an additional map of the public wells, of the private and public wells in this area to emphasize that none of the work is proposed on or close to any wells. And there was one DEP comment that there is a requirement for a 401 water quality certification because work is within ORW and Saltmarsh. But we reached out to Kyle Lally, the DEP reviewer, and determined that it's not it's not required because dredging and filling is not proposed as part of this project. And then I will take any questions.
Yeah, Mick, if I may have
Yeah.
a question.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Bob.
Jordan, who will be the contractor or vendor performing these services, and what certifications are they
So-
required to have?
That is Rich Ruby with Ruby Environmental, and he's actually on this meeting tonight to help answer any questions as well. Rich, if you want to answer your qualifications.
He may be on mute.
Hello, Rich. Hi, Rich.
Well, he's a certified herbicide sprayer in the state of Massachusetts, and he will be doing the application of the herbicide and the cutting.
So, Richard, I guess the question is, are you using like a backpack to spray, or is it a turret mount on the Marshmaster? More educational for me than anything else, to be honest.
I believe it's going to be backpack sprayer, but Rich, could you help answer that?
I think Rich is having trouble connecting.
Yeah, these.
Oh, sorry.
There
Is
you
the
go.
chat function enabled? Do we have a chat function on this meeting?
I don't know.
I don't believe we do.
You know what, Rich may want to sign off and sign back in, and that may clear up the problem. And we can go back to that question. if that keeps things moving.
Mick, I can't comment on the 37 Old Pine Island Road, but I can on the Seaview Lane, since it's a different
Okay.
applicant.
Mhm.
We've joined the meetings, which makes it awkward, so I've direct my comments to the Seaview Lane project and just administratively ask Jordan, so this is you're filing this as an ecological restoration limited project, am I correct?
Yes.
So I saw that you did submit the checklist that's required for that type of filing. Was there also a public notice in the environmental monitor? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Those are just procedural steps. And then, so you are working in an ACEC, but since you don't require any other state permits, is what I'm understanding, you don't have to go through MEPA. So because you don't need your 401 water quality certificate, there's not a state threshold. Because
Yeah.
MEPA considers what we do not to be a state permit, it's issued locally. If the project is appealed to DEP, then they would have to issue a state permit, and that would trigger MEPA. Just procedurally, how that would work. And I know that there's a ton of Phragmites down there. The refuge has gotten away from spraying Phragmites, but they're exploring other alternatives because it's a temporary solution. And it will come back. And so it's a big investment in year-to-year maintenance. You can get some good response with some growth of native vegetation underneath the Phragmites, but you have to remove all that thatch. So one of the questions is, how is the thatch being removed? Is that part of the operation of this marsh master? Does it collect it? Is there a trailer or something that follows it and collects this material?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yes, we
Yeah.
can hear you, Rich.
So, hi. So the first questions, which were my certifications, I have a aquatic applicator's license from the Department of Agriculture, which is the required license for doing this type of herbicide application, to acquire the WM4 permits for it. The second question about the application itself, we'd be applying from the top of the machine. So we have a cage actually that goes on top of the roll cage where an applicator will stand and spray down from above. So the herbicides actually, we're not sending it up into the air as much as down into the Phragmites. So it kind of focuses the application right on the plant. And then as far as the removal of the thatch, it doesn't remove the thatch. It essentially pulverizes the material relatively finely and leaves about a 5 to 6 inch layer on the ground, which does break down relatively quickly. Once the Phragmites is dead, it only takes a season or two for that to be broken down just by natural microbial activity. And the way to, I guess, speed that up would be you could plant plugs or something like that in the area, and it would allow native plants to come back a little faster than allowing the thatch to break down. But yeah, it doesn't have a trailer or anything. It's just a cutter deck on the back of the machine that does the cutting.
Are you operating on mats, or is it just a low PSI?
It's under 3 PSI
Yeah.
under the tracks. The machine only weighs 6,600 pounds, so it's not super heavy, and the width of the tracks and the length of the tracks provide a large amount of surface area underneath it. It doesn't, you don't tend to even see the soil underneath ever. The tracks don't really push through the Phragmites mat or anything like that. Only if you drive over some soft mud or something might you actually see the track beyond vegetation being pushed down or anything like that.
Rich, have you used this technique in other areas of the Great Marsh?
So not in Great Marsh. specifically, but I've been doing this type of work for about 10 years now in salt marshes from the Narragansett Bay up to Great Marsh.
Mhm.
I used to work for a different company before I started my own business about 6 years ago, and all doing the same work.
So, Rich, I have a question. So it
Sure.
sounds like your combination of your vegetation control is a combination of physical removal and herbicide application. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not so much removal as it is just the cutting. It's not leaving the site at all. None of that material is going anywhere. It's just being cut in place.
But you're cutting Phragmites at base level and then
Yep.
applying a herbicide. So
So it's actually we would apply the herbicide first at full height and then cut it, and that would allow for an assessment of how the application worked in the spring, because you'd have a good idea of what sort of stem density you have regrowing in the spring, and it would also remove that physical mass that's going to be shading the marsh and inhibiting germination of any native plants.
So you're spraying it in the fall and you're cutting it in the spring or something? Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much whenever we can get out there over the winter into the spring. Yeah. Even
Which
so,
one? No, I just trying to understand what the interval is between the spraying and the cutting.
yeah.
So the
Gotcha.
spring, you really only need about 2 weeks in between. So I mean, depending, it's all schedule dependent, I guess. Beyond that, but the plant will absorb. We'll spray it onto the foliage, and it'll be a transload once. So let me back up a little bit. So we're gonna wait until the flowers start on the Phragmites. When those flowers start to appear, the plant switches its metabolism and starts translocating fluids from the leaf structures down into the rhizomes, rather than from the rhizomes up into the leaves to grow the plant. It's going to start bringing sugars down into the root structure. So we kind of hijack its own metabolism and apply the herbicide at that time, and it'll draw the herbicide as deeply into that rhizome structure as physically possible and provide the best kill to the treated rhizomes. And it really only needs about 2 weeks to kind of fully move any of the glyphosate that it was able to bring into the leaf structures after the treatment.
So what do you do about the seed heads? I mean, you still have I have a lot of viable seeds in the flower, but there's some.
That's a tough one. It's kind of, I mean, the stuff's been growing there for years anyway. So the seeds are kind of, I don't want to say a moot point, but there's no real way to control that.
Except for removing biomass from the site.
Yeah, I mean,
which
Phragmites is invasive for a reason. I mean, it's a tough one to knock down, and so your selected herbicide is a selective herbicide that you're bringing in leaf material.
No. So it's not selective. Glyphosate's non-selective. It'll kill any plant that it gets on the foliage. But we're very careful as far as not treating off target. We don't treat on high wind days or anything like that. If it's above 5 miles an hour, we're not really going to treat much. So we're going to have to be there, as early in the morning as we possibly can, to get that done. But it just is, as far as that goes, it's non-selective. But when you start getting into the other selective herbicides, those tend to move more through the surface water. And that kind of is, in my opinion, it's a worse trade-off than the potential that something that might be growing within the Phragmites stand might get treated also. And it's it's unfortunate, but sometimes there's native vegetation, within the Phragmites, and those might get hit. But we do our best to avoid any sort of off-target spraying.
Right. I understand what you're doing. There are very few herbicides that you can use, and this one being a non-selective. Some of the concerns are you're trying to kill the Phragmites to promote the less dominant species to take hold. So application of that particular herbicide doesn't necessarily promote the growth of understory growth. So you're trying to kill. I get it. It's a hard trade-off. You're trying to kill off the Phragmites and get the stuff underneath of it to grow and take hold. But
oftentimes there's not much
Yeah.
under there anymore. Apologies for interrupting you. There's there's generally not much growing under the Phragmites anyway. And we don't really soak the plant to where it's getting even to the ground level. The herbicide will be getting on the top section of the foliage and really be leaving anything below that kind of alone. And a lot of the wetland plants are kind of already senesced at that point. When we're getting to the point of treating the Phragmites, I find that there are a few plants that are still around. And you have obviously the trees and stuff and the shrubs, but most of the really sensitive plant species that are going to be underneath that Phragmites have already kind of gone through their cycles at that point and gone dormant, or the foliage isn't really present there for the herbicide to get on to actually kill them. Whereas some of the herbicides you'd get into, you'd have to use a grass selective herbicide, and it would get into the soil and act as a growth inhibitor, essentially.
And or something like that, right?
And it would inhibit any grasses from taking back over. Whereas with the glyphosate, although it kills what it's going to get on, it's going to, after that application's over, there's no more worry of it killing anything else at all. It doesn't inhibit seedlings from germinating. That's why farmers like it so much, because they can use it and then plant the next day in the same field and have no issue, and it's not going to cause their seeds any problems.
Pretty much inert once it comes in contact with soil, basically. Okay. Any of the other members have any questions?
I think Woody had a question, Bob and myself, so.
Sure. Woody?
I respect the conversation so far. I've been informative in the discussion. You've answered a few of my questions so far. Mainly how long, I was confused as to if you were weed whacking first and then applying the glyphosate, but you've clarified that with you're applying it and then 2 weeks or whenever the time period after is, you'll mow it down. And this is kind of for educational. I'm not making a suggestion, but I've heard of a application of Polaris, kind of like the same name as the ski mobile. I've seen it applied on Phragmites before. Is there a consideration to use something different than glyphosate? Or have you ever used that in the past for Phragmites? I'm just curious.
I have no real experience with that product.
Okay.
To even I can't really even speak to the active ingredient. I'm looking it up right now. To know what the active is on that, because it's a brand name.
I was just throwing that out there. I'd seen late Selectman Jeff Walker. That's what he was using for off of Newman Road on some of the Phragmites by the bridge. I had a conversation with him a few years ago on that. And then another question, I've dealt with some spraying before, a surfactant, would a surfactant help the glyphosate stay on the target plant? Now we consider.
Yeah, so I use an adjuvant. It's a spray reducer and a surfactant, and it increases the droplet size, so you don't end up with the misting as much as if you're not using the adjuvant, and it also breaks through the plant cuticle and helps it get absorbed an order of, I think it's like 50% faster than normal, but it yeah. So we do use a spray adjuvant.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Anything else, Woody?
Nope, I'm good for now. I'll raise my hand if I think of something else.
Sure thing. Thank you. Bob Connors.
Yeah, again, more just educational for me. You had mentioned that you want to do this when the plant is flowering.
Mhm.
And at that time, the seed concentration is at its highest. I'm trying to just process. Mary brought up a good point about will the application that will also systemically attack the rhizomes, will it also impact or kill the seeds so that they're dormant and not just because if you're coming back 2
No.
weeks later, are you just redistributing the seeds after the fact? And again, I'm just trying to get a.
Yeah, it doesn't kill the seeds. So the glyphosate actually causes the plant to no longer be able to produce 3 specific amino acids,
Okay.
which it needs to survive. And once that ability is gone, the root system essentially starves out. Because it can't feed itself anymore. It doesn't have really any effect on the seeds. But
You know where I'm going.
yeah, I do. The seed issue's always been something that I've been able, beyond cutting and bundling the stuff to get it out of there. There's really no way to avoid some of the seeds blowing away. Generally, we're cutting when it's pretty dewy and wet, and the stuff's not really blowing around as much as a dry day. Because when you get out there on a real dry day and the seeds start blowing, they get sucked straight into the radiator on the machine, and you end up overheating. So that's kind of just an operational issue. So beyond that, I do avoid cutting on days where it's going to be too dry and the seeds blow around.
So the optimum application is when it's flowering. That's when it'll absorb deeper. But the trade-off is you have all the seeds now that are going to be, when you cut them, are going to be redistributed through the area and be next year's problems. I'm just trying to get it. This is all new to me, Richard. So this is 101 Phragmites for me.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, that's all questions I've had in the past too. Don't worry about it. It's really, I don't like using the word moot point, because like more seeds isn't a great issue, but there's already a seed bank that's been there for decades of Phragmites, and you're not going to be able to get rid of that. And so just by reducing that competition of the growing plant, the actual like living stand of it, you increase the probability of being able to like bring that section of the marsh back from dealing with the Phragmites. After that, this initial first year, usually we get about 95% kill the first year. You're chasing that 5% regrowth and then any seedlings in the area for the next 3 years, roughly.
Is that the treatment process? 3 years from the date you start, you'll be repeating the same process?
Yeah. I mean, the scale of it drops dramatically. You go from what we're gonna be doing this year with 0.6 acres, and then next year there's gonna be a few, 5% of that growth left. So we might
Gotcha.
just go out with the hand cutters and a backpack next year
Okay.
and go from using the 30 gallons down to 5 or 6 gallons, and then the next year after that might be even like 2 gallons, so that the scale reduces greatly. And
No, I'm all set.
I-
Thank you, Richard. I think
yeah,
that
yeah.
you've
Thanks,
you've
Richard.
answered, my question is, my thought was, do you cut this when it's not flowering? Because then you're eliminating the seeds, but as you say, you already have a stored bank of seeds from
Yep.
previous years, so
Yeah.
I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob. Mary?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a window between flowering and setting seed that is the sweet spot where you want to try to target. But truthfully, the Phragmites reproduces primarily vegetatively through the rhizomes. There's
Yeah.
quite a number of infertile seeds in the, so it's not nothing, but it's the bigger issue is the rhizome spreading. My main concern with this project, I understand that using the glyphosate, that's the approved, and cutting it, that it's an ecological restoration project for the purpose of restoring native marsh vegetation. I don't see that being able to happen easily with these are huge, dense stands of Phragmites. They're 10-foot tall Phragmites in this area, I believe, if I'm thinking of the right areas.
Yeah, they're about 16 sometimes.
16 feet, yeah. So that's a huge amount of biomass that's going to be chopped up and laid into this area. Nothing is going to grow it. You're saying maybe 6 inches of material. It's going to be feet of material so no native marsh is going to be able to go underneath.
It breaks down. You'd be very surprised. I was actually just up in
Well, my concern would be that
Meadowbrook,
yeah,
doing the
that
same thing,
it would be
and
slow to break down, but also this material is now really mobile. And it's going to go spread out into other areas of the marsh on a flood
I mean,
tide.
it's dead, so it's not going to spread.
It's not all dead. It won't all be dead. And it's also, even if it was dead, it's material that's going to create a lot of rack and end up in other areas of the marsh, smothering other areas of vegetation. So I just can't see this being a full ecological restoration without removing the dead material when you consider how much material this really is. And that's my biggest concern. And also a question for Jordan, whether or not there's any monitoring proposed as part of your project. Would you be monitoring the both the treatment of the frags and growth of any native marsh vegetation as part of this? For how long?
Yes, we have monitoring proposed for 2 years.
But you're treating for more than that?
We're going to determine treatment based on the monitoring. So we're going to monitor, we're going to review the areas that were treated. We're going to review the salt marsh that's coming up in native species, and then we're going to assess the treatment based on the monitoring.
Anything else, Mary?
No, it might be worth doing a site visit to.
No, I completely agree, and I think you bring up some great points. One, the management of the Phragmites that you're going to cut down. Because when you cut that down, as Mary said very clearly, it inhibits the growth of other species, and that's what you're trying to promote. So,
I mean, it's very.
removal. Okay,
I
Richard, go ahead.
I apologize. It's a very commonly done. There's I wish I knew the contact still over at the DCR. The DCR does it a lot. It's just at scale. Removing the Phragmites from the actual site gets into a whole other host of issues like
Disposal.
the disposal issue. You're transporting it on the road. It's really nearly impossible to contain anything going out of the trailers, even with covers on them and stuff like that. You still risk having it not
You want to sit in this chair now?
not stay in the container and end up, on the roadsides from moving it. And just the disposal cost itself. Having to truck it out of there and usually it has to be incinerated because there's no one that'll take it. You can't take it to a landscape yard or anything like that. So there's no real way to. So I find with projects like this, it's best to just leave it in place. And it's really not, I hate to interject. I don't mean any disrespect, but it's not really feet of material when it's cut down. Like I was saying, I was out in Broadmeadow Brook today, doing the same thing for the Audubon Society and doing some cutting, and it was probably up to my ankle deep before I was hitting the soil level under the Phragmites. It gets pulverized. The machine pulverizes the material to like a mulch.
Yeah. If you could provide some photographs of that or like recent operations that you've done, that would, and showing that kind of mulch layer, that would be great. I mean, ultimately, we're trying to work with you here, and we know the ultimate goal is to remove the Phragmites, to remove an invasive species. But we wanted,
I do agree.
we want to help you do that in the most efficient manner. So, one, we reduce the application of further events of, herbicides and things like that. So really the most efficient way possible is, we're all on board for that. But I guess, maybe providing some examples of, if you have some photographs that you can provide to the committee, that would be great. So, any other questions?
PC right now.
Yeah.
The only other question I had, Mick, was on the monitoring, would that generate a reporting cycle to the agent?
Yes.
Okay, would that be on an annual basis, Jordan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jordan, I think a schedule of, if additional herbicide applications or additional physical removal, cutting, things like that would need to be defined in that subsequent plan.
Yep.
Mason, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple comments. The DEP technical comments, I know Jordan said that no 401 is needed, but the DEP reviewer did encourage the commission to condition monitoring of the access routes as well as monitoring of the actual frag removal, treatment, and any regrowth of native or Phragmites. And then in addition, I just have a recommendation for Jordan. I know that we have some abutters that are concerned about the herbicide use in proximity to drinking wells in the treatment areas. And I know you addressed that a little bit, but I think if we could get an overlay of figures 2 and 7, which are the project areas, and then the private well locations, I think that would be beneficial for a lot of the abutters, just to kind of show them that from your guys' point of view, it's not a concern in terms of proximity.
Yep, we can do that.
And that's all I have for now. Thanks, Mick.
Mick, that generates the question, are the access routes shown on the plan?
Yes. It's through here. Let me just pull up it's Old Pine Island Road is the access road, and then Pine Island Road, which are shown on the map in the submission.
But they're going to be going through private property to get to the strand, right?
Greenbelt owns along Pine Island Road, and the applicant owns the access for the other. But there may be some need to traverse between sites along the marsh edge. Do you foresee that?
Here, let me just share my map again. All of the properties along the boundary are going to be within the project. So we won't have any issues traversing. It will be all within here. and then they can access this way or they can access this way for these areas.
Right, but you'd be traversing over areas that don't have Phragmites with your equipment and
Yeah,
in
that's what-
between treatment areas is what I was saying, yeah.
I think it'd be helpful if the access routes, where it's entering, where it's exiting, because obviously you're gonna be further down in the marsh.
Yeah.
May be helpful if it's shown on the plan.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions from members of the commission? Okay, no, Barry, you're all set. Any questions from the public? Mason, Jiang?
Nothing.
And I believe Mary had mentioned had suggested a site visit. I think that's appropriate. Can we schedule that?
Yeah, do we want to look at a date for that?
Yes.
Maybe if we have a meeting on the 18th, maybe looking to something next week.
I don't know how
Yes.
to do it. Okay, relax. I can't.
About 8 a.m. on August 11th.
One second. Linda, are you looking to make a comment on this project?
Yes, I am.
All right, if you could just state your name and address, and then if you want to relay your questions or concerns to the board, that would be great.
Thank you. My name is Linda Nielsen. I am at 22 Seaview Lane. I am abutted by the Phragmites they want to take down, and they're also behind the property on Old Pine Island Road, which abuts my property. I'm very concerned about the well situation. I'm also very concerned about the poison, which has been on and off considered not safe. And this is conservation marsh, and the birds all settle there and they nest, and they're all through the Phragmites in that lower marsh. What happens to the wildlife? Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Mick, I see that Nancy Powell is here. She may be here for this project. You want to see if she has anything she wants to say?
Sure. Nancy?
Hi, guys. I'm Nancy Powell, wildlife biologist for Parker River Refuge, and our land backs up to some of these stands, and I believe some of them actually go onto the refuge. So, so we were kind of brought in early on this project. I don't know the final details. I know DeRosa Environmental is working on it, but in general, we are supportive of efforts to control Phragmites. The wetland approved herbicides that is used, we do use them on the refuge as well to control targeted invasives. And in general, in the long term, they tend to improve wildlife habitat and have short-term impacts. We are supportive of this project, and we look forward to working with Greenbelt and the DeRosa Environmental in kind of the details of this project as they go forward.
Well, thank you, Nancy. That's great information. Appreciate your input. Richard, I guess I'll put this out to you and maybe to Nancy as well from her experience. What information can you provide to abutters with groundwater wells in the area on like migration information related to the use of your selected herbicide and impacts on groundwater wells or bedrock wells in the area?
So
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just
speak?
gonna say, is there a product, a product data sheet on the?
Yeah, you should have a safety data sheet, but
Yeah.
The
So there's
safety
no-
data sheets were submitted in the NOI.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's in the notice of intent. So if anyone would like that, feel free to come into town hall. I can print you out a copy, or if you'd like me to email it, I can share it via email as well.
yeah.
The information that I know about it, Mick, is that it breaks down in the soil well. before
Relatively quickly.
A well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Works very much like Roundup. it's pretty much inert once it hits the
Yeah, that's right.
groundwater.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned with the abutters, just providing them with supporting data or
Mhm.
information on that to alleviate any fears that it's going to impact their groundwater or impact well water. No, I understand it's a very quick breakdown. It's it's an organic based compound. So I guess Richard, Jordan, just maybe think of that in the backgrounds if you can provide data to abutters or people with wells in the area that might want that information just to alleviate any fears of infiltration into their wells. So
If I may, Mick,
yeah,
if it's used with a surfactant too and applied to what the target plant, it stays with that as well. It prevents it from traveling.
So
in a potential rain or whatever.
Yeah, usually with any leaf like contact application, you're going to use a surfactant. It almost adheres it to the leaf, so it can be absorbed into the plant material. So, no, good point, Woody. Thank you.
Mick, I'm just looking at, I just did a search and on a case study for marsh use. It said it might be appropriate to request the EPA label, SDS, and aquatic herbicide application protocol as part of the application, if that's hasn't been
Great.
Been provided.
Yep, that sounds great. Richard, Jordan, I think that's something probably easily you could provide with the application.
Yeah, it's already been provided in the application.
Yep.
Okay, we have the SDS and the EPA label.
Yep.
I believe it starts on page 94 for anyone wanting to take a look at
Yeah,
that.
I think for the abutters that have concerns that may be helpful.
Yep.
We'll leave it
No,
at
understood. It's we know that glyphosate is it's a very commonly used herbicide for this application. It's just I think you have public that are concerned about impact on their properties. So just providing whatever information you can to support your use of that. Okay. Any other questions from the public? No further questions from the commission? And Mason, you're all set?
Yep, not seeing any. Do we want to look at a date for a site walk before we?
Mary suggested the 11th at 8 a.m.
Works for me.
That is a week from today.
That works for me as well.
Alrighty.
And
It might be better parking on Old Pine Island. Is that what you think?
at the water department, maybe, or
yeah.
or is it further down road from that?
I think we can park on Seaview, but there's no turnaround on your street, Mick, right? It's just you'd have to do parking on the side of the road. And we don't park it. We turn around in your driveway.
One way you're in the water, or you're back on Route 1A. So
yeah.
We'll expect coffee, Mick, by the way. We're in your neighborhood.
I'm more than happy. I'm more of a tea guy, but I will bring coffee.
So where are we meeting? Pine Island or Seaview?
Why don't we plan to meet at 8 a.m. at the I think it's the water department, right on the corner of 1A and Old Pine Island.
Yeah, the DPW.
Yeah,
right
and
there,
we can entourage from there. So
very good.
Does that work, Richard, Jordan? Does that work for you guys?
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, I might not be able to make that, but no, we'll figure something out.
Okay, great. Okay, so
All right.
Would you like a motion to continue the public hearing?
yeah. So Jordan, we'll request it to continue the public hearing at this point.
Yes, we would like to continue.
Okay, so we'll continue to our meeting on August 18th.
I'll make a
And-
motion to continue the public hearing to August 18th.
So move.
Vote?
Second,
Excellent. So we're moved to the 18th, and we will convene
Need a vote.
on the. Oh, excuse me. Yep. Mary,
I'll vote.
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Woody,
yes.
And Bob?
Yes.
Okay. And Mick votes yes. So,
Oh,
Great.
we have a raised hand.
Giovanna.
Giovanna.
Yes, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
yes, we can.
Okay, I'm sorry because I started, I joined the meeting a little bit late. So did we skip the section regarding enforcement orders?
Nope, that's next up.
Oh, I thought you were finishing the meeting. I apologize.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope,
Okay,
just that hearing.
sorry. Thank you.
Yep, no worries.
Thank you,
All
Giovanni.
right. Next matter is DEP file number 050. Let me check if it's been issued a file number.
No, it wasn't. I looked. before.
Okay. So file number is blank right now, but it is 62 Fordham Way. The applicant is submitting a notice of intent for an addition and a deck expansion on Plum Island. I have some comments in the agent's report for the board's review, but I'll leave it to the applicant, Mark West, to present the project and answer any questions from the board.
Mark's muted.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Mark.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Great, Mark. Thank you.
So, we've submitted the application for a project. The lot is 62 Fordham. It's a pretty developed portion of Plum Island. There isn't any natural dune vegetation on the site. It's mostly gravel and gardens. And the proposed addition is 17 by 18. And then there's also an expansion of a small deck that's 8 by 8 to a bigger deck. And all of it is over the addition is mostly over an existing patio. And then the deck is over gravel, a gravel area. And so we submitted lots of pictures so you can see what it looks like on the site. That first picture is a perfect picture showing right there where the patio is. That's where the deck is. It's a second floor addition, and then on the beyond that, you can see the smaller deck. They're going to build a bigger deck around that to connect to the addition. All of it is at the second floor level. There's nothing to be constructed on the lower level except pilings, which it appears to be around 8 helical piles that are going to go in to support the structure. And the reason for it is it's basically just a pretty small house, and they need a little more room for when guests come to visit. And so really they're making a living room so that the bedroom, the smaller rooms, they have a little more room for the family. They're not doing this in preparation of selling it or anything. This is a family property and they just need a little more room. So that drawing there shows you the addition, and it's all behind the house, and they'll access on either side of the house to get the material back there, but it's mostly construction of this elevated structure. There's no rare species habitat near the site, and this one's pretty straightforward.
Thanks, Mark. I have a couple of questions because whether or not we trigger any lot coverage requirements here, or we have any calculations for lot coverage, Mason, under the bylaw. Is this going to exceed any thresholds? Has that information been included? I didn't see it. You're muted.
Apologies. I don't think that has been included, but I can check in with the building commissioner to confirm both of those.
Okay. Looks like we still need some details on the pile support system, where they're gonna go and what material is gonna be used. We typically will allow helicals or steel piles for support of structures on Plum Island.
We
And-
we did include a architectural,
Okay.
the architectural drawing.
We'll take a look at that. We're gonna have to
I'll
continue
pull
the
that
hearing
back
because
up.
we don't have a file number, so we'll take a look at that. And also, Mark, is there any mitigation planting for the square feet of impact, the additional impact? It looks like there's 306 square feet of impact.
Yeah, it's actually 306 plus some additional for the deck. And we did not propose plantings because there's no native vegetation. But if it's required, that's fine. But we understand we're at the barrier beach, but they're gardens and gravel and
Yeah.
not any native impact to native vegetation.
Right.
So I don't know whether you're considering it as a dune or barrier
Yes.
beach or
Oh.
whether, so if it's both, even if there is no native vegetation, you still want some native plantings to compensate 1-to-1 for the structure, even though it's on the second floor.
No, that's a good point. So the part that's touching the ground is what, so if it's just the piles, no. If you're at grade or within a couple feet of grade and you're covering areas that couldn't be vegetated, then yes. So in
I
this
think
case,
it's just
you would-
piles.
yeah, you would have some light penetration underneath. If it's a second story, then
Yeah.
you might not need plantings. Yep, that's possible.
Whatever you all feel is needed,
Yep.
we will.
I'm gonna go around and round the horn here and see what kind of comments members have. Mick, you want to start it off? You're muted.
That was my general inquiry, like the amount of new area that would be covered, what its elevation would be, and if there would be, areas that need to be restored or have new plantings. So
Mhm.
that was my only question. So to provide information on what's generally covered by deck now and what the increase would be useful information for us.
Bob?
Yeah, thank you, Mary. Mark, question, where are you at on ZBA? I'm assuming the building inspector is gonna kick you to the ZBA for a determination.
I believe Ryan, the owner, is the one who handled that, and he just put his hand up.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Excuse me.
Are you there, Ryan? Go ahead and you got the floor. Looks like he's having trouble.
Does he have to have the hand acknowledged first, the hand raise thing?
No.
He may be muted.
Like me, Mark, I'm usually late to unmute, so I'm usually late to pull the trigger. So.
Mason, can
Well-
you to make sure he doesn't have his permissions locked or anything?
Yeah, he has been working on this and going through this whole process, and he brought me in to do the NOI. And we've gone over everything. So I'm not aware of or involved in any ZBA activities, but it's possible he could text me.
Yeah, you know what, Mark, though, this is gonna be continued because we don't have a file number.
Right.
And I think the question to Mark is, what is this discussion about with the building inspector? Typically.
He has been in touch with the building inspector.
Typically, the building inspector would require and get a ZBA determination.
I believe
that-
this is getting pushed to the zoning board and they'll have to
Okay.
make a determination on it.
And that will determine lot coverage and FAR and all that stuff, Mary, for
Yep.
compliance.
Okay. Do we want to schedule a site visit for this one? Or do we want to wait to see what we've got for?
It may be worthwhile to see if we get comments from DEP on this. Mark could then talk to the owner and determine where they're at with the ZBA. They may want to, we run into this all the time, as we all know, that the ZBA you may change the plan somewhat, and you don't want to close out the application on the order of conditions until you have clarity on what the ZBA may require, if anything.
Right.
Agree
If
with
we're
that.
going to do a site visit though, we can schedule it so we don't hold them up for the next time.
Would people be available after the Seaview and Pine Island site walk?
Very easy for me to do.
Yep.
Okay, so maybe about 9:30 that same day, Tuesday the 11th.
Sounds good.
Ryan, if that is not okay with you, just get in touch with Mason in the morning and let him know, and we can reschedule it. But best to sort of get that out of the way so we get eyes on the site and understand the project a little bit better, and then we can be prepared to take action when you are further along with your review up by the building department.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions for us?
I think we're good.
Yeah, any raised hands, Mick, from the, Mary, from the,
Stephen
Even
Mangio? Steve Mangio. Okay.
That's right. Forgive me. I've got my camera blocked at the moment, but I'll try and attend to that. Yeah, it seems to me that and this has come up with other boards that I've seen at work, we really need to get something out of the ZBA before you come to the succeeding boards, like the Conservation Commission. That way you know what the project is and what's been approved and not approved by, in this case, the ZBA. And with the PIOD, it's really critical to understand what's the proposed lot coverage increase, and what does that do for floor area ratio. Certainly, in this case, creating a living room, which is the term I think that was used, you're increasing the floor area ratio. And I got to believe that's going to go to the ZBA. And I think I would urge the commission to be a little bit careful in not putting the cart before the horse until we hear from the ZBA.
Yep.
So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Yep, understood. And the applicant is responsible for at least applying to any other boards that are local approvals that are required at the time they file the notice of intent. So we may have a little pause in between hearings on this, but we'll see what can be accomplished within the next week or so, and then make a determination whether the applicant wants to continue beyond August 18th or not. So,
Mary, would you like a motion to continue the public hearing?
yeah, if there are no other comments by board members, yes, I would entertain a motion to continue the hearing.
So
Yeah,
moved.
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing to the August 18th meeting.
So moved.
second?
All in favor, Mick,
Aye.
Bob,
Yes,
Harry,
Yes.
Woody,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Okay, so we'll see you guys, or some of you anyway, on August, what did we say it was, 11th?
yeah.
At about 9 p.m. 9 a.m. would be better. 9 a.m. is preferable, yes.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Alrighty, next matter is enforcement orders for 1, 2, and 3 Farmview Lane. Let me pull this up. Conservation Building and Planning were notified of a possible enforcement issue on Farmview Lane for the paving of the shared roadway and driveway. So this was under file number 050-1327, and the order of conditions was strictly limited to the roadway and then stormwater based on the roadway and the pavement. in treating the runoff. So let me pull this up.
So just for the members that might not understand, our jurisdiction is limited to 100 feet from the wetland resource, but it can extend beyond that if the stormwater runoff is directed to a wetland from an area that's further away from the further than 100 feet away. So it's the outlet of stormwater. So we would be having jurisdiction over that portion of the driveway that drains towards a resource area.
Correct. So after discussing with town council and reviewing the order, specifically the paving activity was in violation of special conditions 62, 72, 74, 76, 84, and 86 of the order of conditions issued 12/9/2020. This enforcement order was sent out last week, and I had put a date for 8/22/2026, which would be right after our next meeting. For the applicants to come up with a plan for a return to compliance or restoration, or whatever they would be proposing. I had talked to one of the people on the enforcement order today, and it was understood that they were going to be discussing with the neighbors and also an engineer to, like I said, to try and work on this return to compliance. So the enforcement order for 050-1327 was issued to the 3 homeowners that share that roadway, as well as the property development company that had started this subdivision. And then the other enforcement order was specifically for 2 Farmview Lane as they paved their driveway, which, although they are exempt from stormwater as a single family residence, this was outside of what was on the approved order of conditions in the plan. So that's kind of the explanation of who it went out to and the reasoning for it.
Mason, can you clarify again for 2 Farmview? Was the paving in the buffer zone or outside of the buffer zone?
Paving was outside of the buffer zone.
Okay.
Mhm.
But it was a driveway.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So that's where it stands right now. And like I said, I put a date on it for 8/22 for them to have some correspondence back with us. I see a couple people from Farmview on tonight. But again, I put the date on it for 8/22 for them to send in a letter or something like that, acknowledging the enforcement order and giving us a rough plan or kind of roadmap, I guess, for their plan for returning to compliance.
Okay, before I go to the applicants, Bob Connors has his hand up. Bob, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just curious, Matt, what's the status of the original order conditions? Has that expired or has it been closed? We issued a certificate of compliance?
Let me
What was
Should still be valid. It's not that, or is this the one that we just closed out? We closed
The-
it out.
So 2 Farmview Lane, we closed out and issued an RDA for the pool in the backyard. So I know that one for sure is closed out. I'm unsure about the one that covers the roadway, 050-1327. That was issued 12/9/2020. So I believe that would be expired by now.
But no certificate of compliance has been issued.
I am unsure. I can check on that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my only question, Mary.
Yeah, thanks. It's a good point, Bob. And I'm questioning about the enforcement order for number 2, but before I get to that, is there someone from the property owners that want to talk about this? Either 1, 2, or 3 Farmview Lane?
Yeah, I think John Clifford is here. John, if you'd like to say something, just introduce yourself and then give your name and address, please.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for the time. My name is John Clifford, 3 Farmview Lane. My wife Viorica is on, as well as Giovanni Bergero from 1 Farmview Lane. I'm speaking on behalf of the homeowners on Farmview Lane. We received the enforcement order on July 31st and want you to know that we take it seriously. Since then, we've engaged an environmental engineer and also counsel, Peter During from Verrill, who's also on tonight. and I've been in contact with Mr. Ferrick. The environmental engineer is evaluating the paved driveway against the stormwater standards and will prepare a notice of intent or a restoration plan if the site cannot meet the standards. We expect to respond to the commission by August 18th, ahead of the order's deadline and ahead of your next meeting. We're committed to resolving this cooperatively, and we'll keep Mr. Ferrick updated throughout. I'll hand off to Peter now, if that's okay with the board.
Yes, thank you very much. And John, what's your address, the record? It's what number?
3.
You're 3.
3 Farmview Lane, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Which is
John.
confusing because National Grid says I'm lot 1, 68 Green Street, but
Okay.
we'll deal with that.
Yep.
Peter.
So thank you, John. I just wanted to introduce myself, Peter Durning. I'm a resident of Newburyport. I'm an environmental attorney out of Verrill in Boston. As John mentioned, representing John and Viorica Clifford, Giovanni Bogero, who's on tonight, and also Noah and Lindsay Goldstein from 2 Farmview Lane, who all make up the Farm Lane Homeowners Trust. I just want to amplify what John said in terms of these homeowners taking the enforcement order very seriously. In addition to my assistance, they're also working with Verdantis, well-acclaimed wetlands scientist, to evaluate this issue. I think from the exchange that the commission members have already had, there are some interesting things about this matter, including the fact that all of the driveways that we're talking about are outside of the 100-foot wetlands buffer, though I acknowledge, as Mary mentioned, that the commission can have an interest in areas that would drain to a wetland. But the age of these orders and the location of the physical structure create some interesting issues. But I would just reiterate what Mr. Clifford said. The homeowners are reviewing this seriously, and they look to come back to the commission with a further response. And we understand your interest in the project. I just wanted to take this opportunity. I realize, Mason, I think the orders that we received are currently unsigned. I assume that will be complied with, and we will respond in due course. And Mason, I'll shoot you an email as well, just so you have my contact information on this matter.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks. So, as a procedural matter, our course of action would be to decide whether to ratify or not the enforcement orders that have already been issued, so that they can now then be signed.
Right.
And I appreciate your taking this seriously and addressing these concerns. I understand you probably have some issues with the planning board as well, and so we'll want to work closely with them to resolve this as quickly as possible. I am comfortable with continuing this discussion to the next meeting so that you have an opportunity to provide the response that you're talking about. I just want to talk a little bit more with the members about if there's a driveway that's outside of resource area and does not drain towards a resource area. And it would not have been likely part of the overall stormwater management of the subdivision. And I'm not sure we have jurisdiction over that driveway. So Mason, you want to walk me through that again, just so I understand how that works?
Yeah, so that was my thinking as well, and I had brought this to town council, and I was advised to still issue the enforcement order because it was against what was in the approved plan.
Right. Okay. I think we can ratify it now and have further discussion about that on the 18th. If everybody else is comfortable with that, since that was the recommendation of town council.
Yeah, Mary,
So I'm going to go around. Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we ratify the enforcement order and put it on our
Both
agenda.
enforcement orders. Yep.
Yeah, and so the question, I guess, is if the driveways are outside of a jurisdiction and they're exempt from stormwater, does that leave basically just the common driveway that we would have jurisdiction over?
That's to be determined. I think that
Okay.
we don't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point.
I think that may be insightful for
Right.
for council and the engineer to we're basically going to be looking for what are the impacts and what's the mitigation, right?
Yeah. So watershed plan showing what's draining where on the property. so that we have a clear idea of where our jurisdictional limits are. That should also include the original wetland boundary. And then we can
Go from there.
proceed from there, but also, well, that will give us an opportunity to review the old order of conditions as well. Figure out if it's still active, whether or not you can make any changes while it's still active. You know, as part of a notice of intent, that you could amend the existing order of conditions, or you need to file a new notice of intent. So if it is still open, if it's still valid, it hasn't expired, and there's no certificate of compliance issued, it's possible that you can amend the order of conditions.
And I can pull that file and give that information to both Peter and John if you guys would just reach out with an email, and I can send over the original order with the expiration.
So Mary, so the order issued on 12/9/2020 that would have expired 12/9/2023.
With
How-
2 extra years,
That would put him
would
at
have gotten 2
12
extra years.
that would be 12/9/2025. Right,
It may have expired.
yeah. Could we handle this just as an enforcement order on the mitigation of the stormwater if that became just looking
Yeah,
at
there's still gonna have to be an there may, depending on what work is proposed, may still have to be an after the fact, either notice of intent or RDA. We don't know.
Okay, yep,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay.
So I think this is just an opportunity for us to just have a placeholder, you know, ratify the enforcement order and do some additional work. If it turns out we can release one of the enforcement orders or both of them based on new information, we can look at that. But based on the information we have right now, it looks like we do need to ratify those.
All right, so I'll make a motion to ratify the enforcement orders so then we can vote on that and eliminate that issue.
So moved.
Second.
Thanks. Moved and seconded. All in favor, Mick,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
and Woody?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. And Steve, this is not a public discussion, so if you have a comment, it's not open for a public discussion at this point. But if you have comments and you want to direct them to Mason after the meeting or something, that's fine.
I will do so. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. So thank you guys. I appreciate you coming tonight, and we look forward to talking with you again on the 18th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, Mason.
All right, last item is under general discussion for Newbury Elementary tree removal. I had reached out to Mary and Mick regarding this after getting contacted by Verrier Tree and the tree warden at the, oh, my photo folder is not loading. Give me 1 second. But after a discussion with the school board for Newbury Elementary, they've identified a fair amount of hazardous and dead white ash trees within resource areas, but it also is adjacent to the parking lot and playground areas. So let me try and pull up some photos here to give you guys a little bit of information.
If I recall correctly, this was to be, or was considered to be, do it under an emergency act, emergency order, excuse me.
That was my initial thoughts, and I think Mary
Yeah.
had floated the idea of having them come in as an RDA for some
Yeah.
of the restoration that would be needed for tracking machines or any of the disturbance caused for the removal of the trees. And my Google photos are not loading right now, so let me just pull up a picture of the site and give everyone an idea of where it is. And what I'll do is I will share a folder with the photos after the fact. And if anyone has any questions, we can kind of go from there.
Mary, is there a tree warden report on the condition of the trees?
Not that I'm aware of, no. I mean, I think that the next steps would be having somebody mark the trees that they want to take down. maybe use a different color for ones that are presenting an actual safety hazard versus just, dead tree.
Mhm.
And then I'm comfortable with doing an RDA in this case, as long as they're either, it's preferable with these ash trees to take the wood out of there so it doesn't infest other areas. So
Yeah,
it'd be great to fell the trees and just remove them entirely from the site.
yeah, it's concerns for like European ash borer.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably what's got them.
Yeah.
That's great, Mason. And so then what are they going to do? Is there anything that they're planning on planting in its place, or are they just going to leave it?
So I think initially when I did the site walk with Verrier and the tree warden, their plan was to just drop and leave them where it is. But I definitely understand and agree with the importance of removing them, especially if we're seeing a lot of trees die in the same area from the same thing. We don't want that to continue to spread.
Yeah.
There is a small kind of primitive little walking trail that I think they, some of the school kids use and things like that. And then they have their outdoor learning area classroom right here. So there's definitely some that are more hazardous than others. Some of them get a little bit deeper in here, and even if they fell, it wouldn't reach anything. But the concern is that, obviously if there's anyone using this path or wandering around back there, it could pose a
Absolutely.
threat.
Absolutely. So if we get a report from the tree warden, a markings of the trees that they want to take down and then work with them to come up with an RDA and a plan for what mechanical methods are going to use and how they're going to treat any disturbance from equipment in the wetland. I'm assuming that's all wetland there.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
It cut the start of this pink line, everything starts to go downgrade, and it looks like a
Looks like there's a
BPW down there.
stream that's exiting from the onto.
Yeah, and from conversations with the tree warden and Verrier Tree, spring and summer, spring and early summer, they're seeing some standing water in these areas. So I think the idea was to try and do it, before school starts, obviously, but in a time where it's drier to try and minimize, any disturbance possible. But
Can you click on to see if there are vernal pools on this? Because I seem to remember that there were some vernal pools, a vernal pool on or adjacent to the site.
Would we just flush cut the trees? We wouldn't remove the stumps. We just flush cut them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, and just take the wood out of there, if they can manage that.
And if you talk about like minimizing impact, wintertime really does, you're gonna minimize ground impact, so.
Yep. And how about rare species habitat? You go under conservation recreation there? Natural heritage, yeah. No, okay. Estimated, no. And certified. Okay,
No,
that's good.
nada.
Okay. It might be further over on the
Mhm.
that other adjacent lot.
Okay, so just to confirm, we want a little bit more information, have them flag the trees, especially the ones that are proposing the biggest threats. Confirm that the trees can be removed after being cut, and then come up with kind of a restoration plan for any of the disturbed areas. My guess is probably a wetland mix and some hay or something like that.
And some kind of report from the tree warden confirming that they
What-
need to come.
What
back.
is that area just
Email,
north of,
it's fine.
the subject area, that kind of tan? Is that a parking lot?
Playground.
Yeah,
This
it's
here is a
playground.
playground,
Oh,
basketball
it's a playground,
courts,
okay.
and then
So
parking.
that's
right?
the safety concern for the playground, okay.
Yeah, and I think a lot from my perspective, a lot of the ones that were posing a threat were kind of in this area here with a threat to fall, in this direction towards that outdoor classroom or just kind of those
Sure,
open
and
areas.
you said they were white ash?
Yes.
That's
Yep. And I'm pretty sure those are the only species that they're targeting in this and are noticing that's dead.
Yep.
But again, if there's other species, I can ask them for that information as well.
Yep.
All right, well, that sounds like a plan. Thank you, everyone. And
Okay.
that is it for general discussion. Only staff reports and updates I have. Mary and I met. I'm gonna be getting together some materials for everyone, especially some of our new commission members, just for some insight and information on regulations, process, and kind of the way that both the way Mary and I go through the steps of looking at projects, reviewing them, and asking kind of the important questions. So I'll be getting that together. The only thing I would add is if you guys have anything in particular that you have questions about or anything specifically that you'd like me to include in there, please feel free to shoot me a text or an email, and I'd be happy to include that.
Yeah, I was thinking that possibly not in summer, but September, October, maybe. If folks wanted to take an hour before a meeting or on a separate date and do a workshop kind of thing and have questions. Sometimes it's awkward to ask the questions in the middle of a public hearing. We could do one on coastal stuff and one on a separate one on inland stuff because the regulations are pretty different between the two. But if that's something that everybody wants to do, I'd be happy to Mason to make sure everybody's up to speed.
Yep, definitely.
Yes,
Oh, that'd be great. I'd really appreciate
great
that.
idea.
That
Yep.
sounds great.
Yeah, I did check with the town on, MACC has some great, courses offered. So I'll be attending some of those and, the town was, good enough to support me on that and be able to reimburse me for those classes. So,
Yep. And
Yeah.
all members are eligible for that. Yep.
yeah, no, it's great. It's a great opportunity.
Yep, I'll be updating our staff list as well for MACC. So I'll update everyone's emails and stuff, and you may get some informational stuff from them as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, you know what? Frank Wettenkamp and I had taken a kind of a crash course with Alicia Gillian, I think is her
Yellen,
name.
yep.
Yellen, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it was kind of CMR 310 101.
Yeah.
And it was very helpful.
Yep. Yep.
I think it was an hour and a half online.
Mhm.
That'd be great. I'd be interested in seeing some of that information.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Alrighty, well, that's all I have for staff reports and updates. And if no one else has any comments, questions, or concerns, then I would say that someone
Make a
would
motion
to
for
adjourn.
adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, second. Everybody in favor?
Yes.
Yes,
Aye.
yes.
Okay, great.
Good meeting,
All right.
Mary and Mitch.
Yeah, great job, guys.
Yep. Great
See you
job,
on the
guys.
11th.
All right.